There's a footnote to this that I just can't quite formulate. Now, of course, one is asking for total ridicule. That's been the photo on my computer for years, no matter what. One is able to ridicule if one speaks of, as I say, I'm a book person. I know a good, inspiring book, and the greatest one, although rather bleak, this century, without any doubt, that a man couldn't have gotten away with writing, by the way, is Rachel Kushner's Mars Room. No doubt about it. When I read it, I said to myself, I can't even tell my daughter about this book, who was, at the time when I read it, about 18, and she said she wanted to be a writer. Because it's too good. You read that and you think it's impossible to do this. And funnily enough, although it doesn't feature any children, it exemplifies something. They didn't give her the Booker because she went all the way. Anyway, it's absurd, and one is open to just on the little matter of the internet. I mean, I myself never ever believe anything ever on the internet, unless it's, there are rare examples of things that are not really of the internet. I'm not even going to waste my time thinking of them. Where things are obviously filmed, and the films are without a doubt verifiable, etc. Well, yeah, of course. But I don't even look anybody up on Facebook. I don't look anybody up ever. I've known people with unique names for 10 years, over the last 10 years, who I'm not quite sure about, but I don't look them up, ever. No matter what people might say, it is so easy to put a fantasy version of yourself on the internet. But I think I have a little claim to fame. I mean, what people put out on the internet, be it at the very personal level, private, not private, but at an individual level, or about the war, or if you're a Russian, not war in Ukraine, I got a little claim to fame, which is so silly it's ridiculous. I actually almost certainly was the first person to take in, let's be crystal clear, there are little appeal cases, and then there's big show appeal cases. Mine was a big show appeal. Lord Justice Wall really enjoyed telling me that, how I think it's time for a big proper test case on this, Mr. Clayton. I don't think he called me Simon, but anyway. Yeah, I put into the appeal court, and it's interesting, when you're doing all this stuff, there are techniques that you learn, well, that I did, and I'd like to share them with the world. Maybe other people have used such techniques. You basically just scam. Even when, in July, was it June 2006, came along this appeal court. Oh, here it is. Okay. Now it sounds like I haven't looked at this. No, that's the point. I've never looked at it. I've never actually looked at it, because you know who you are. You know what's right and what's wrong. Yeah, that's what the individual is. Now, particularly if you're a parent, and particularly if you've been so assessed, wrongly, because there was nothing ever to assess. There was never any evidence put of my daughter being in any way less than the average child. And in fact, the law basically is that unless your child is, let's just say for the sake of convenience, in the bottom 20%, the state have got no cause ever to have anything to do with you. And yet, the state, not because of me, over a year and a half, there kept being hearings and people kept making a lot of money out of the, well, it was a circus, to quote Bob Dylan. Pig circus, is that what he says? Anyway, yeah, you learn a kind of technique. You know, the state has analysed you. There you are. You've been not public. I was never been public enemy number one. You were like the. I mean, I hate the word. But we walked into the court at the beginning of after me becoming this notorious whatever, and they just said, "Oh, my celebrity case." Now, when you're a name, let's just put it that way, or of note within their system, my God, they check you out. My daughter and me as a parent is the most checked out person going. Every single one of 3 people over the course of a year and a half, I had to get the first 2 sacked, I was dealing with, in other words, the court inspector. They're called Kafkas, and at the end, Kafkas was so appalling, I actually got them sacked via the judge. I ended up with a really senior London guy. As soon as he met me, he knew he was dealing with somebody totally upfront, totally and utterly authentic, no holds barred. And in fact, I'm going to do something now. Yes, let's do it. I'm at my favourite place in the world, and that unfortunately, if this movie ever got made, this can't really be in it. But the way you get through life, really tough life, is from time to time, oops, come here, you have to take yourself off to places, well, where I do it, where, I can't remember if I've done this, you have to take yourself off to your special places, which is what I do. And there's only one thing that's important here, and that's that. I'm going to come to that in a minute. I wasn't really planning this. Anyway, so Adrian Oster came to my house for his, I mean, yet, you know, it's like, well, I hardly ever go to the doctor. But when you go to the doctor, why do they never look at your notes? It's just absurd. So, what's the problem today? When you've been coming to the doctor for an issue over a few months, they know. Even the most highly paid, highly experienced NIAS, National Youth Advocacy Service officer, who's been parachuted in from London to a dump little town on the borders, he doesn't really look at your notes, you know. They all want to justify their own goddamn existence. So Adrian Oster turns up after this non-case has been ongoing. The judge had a year earlier said it will return to proper shared care. And straight away, he actually, I realised, good guy, he came with a present. I can't remember what he bought my daughter, that's appalling of me. I should remember that more. But he brought some Yogi tea bags. And he got me addicted to Yogi tea. I should sue him because they cost 20p each. 20. Anyway. I thought, well, no, you don't have time to think when someone's coming yet again, quite wrongly, because there's been never any evidence of any issue. Just, well, the only evidence was an ex, whatever, who could never stop fighting. Well, that's not my problem. Anyway, so he came to our house
up in the hills, right up in the hills, not a neighbour for a mile. Me and my daughter. I was quite looking forward to it, in actual fact. Right, I got rid of this fucking awful lying scumbag senior Kafkas officer, but I'm not in the business of these people. Adrian turns up from London. You're driven all the way across the state. Not my, this is on somebody else's legal aid. Your taxpayer money. And within 5 minutes, I'm going to like this guy. I feel completely... But he was a Londoner, and it was a summer's day, and me and my daughter were sitting outside the house, because we always sat outside the house. And we had our ferrets around, and we used to put them on leads. I said, go sit down, join us. Well, we were almost having like a little picnic on the lawn. And I could see his fucking head tick-tock inside, calculating. But this man, I think, I hold my daughter, sorry to use the F word there, but you know, this is the shit that you're put through in this awful society, which I don't give a shit about. It's none of my business. All the other campaigners, by the way, they were pathetic and failed. Right. So there's Adrian also sat there. We're getting on great. But I could just see one little problem. In the back of his mind, because he's a Londoner, and all city people deep down, they're neurotics, or 99.9% of them. And it's like, he's thinking, yes, but there's a 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl here. And there's these fierce animals, these dangerous animals. Now, it was this one's father. So I just said, there you are, having your court welfare officer. It's like, how the hell do we finalise a court case? Who's sitting there? And I want him to be dealing with it properly. So I just said, Adrian, I just want to deal with something now. Adrian? So I went over and picked up Leon the first. And okay, I can probably get arrested for what I'm going to do, but this is the most beloved and well looked after ferret in the world. So I said, Adrian, right, okay, right, they don't bite. And he did kind of smile, and we never had to deal with his pathetic judgment and barrier to dealing with what matters, which is how on earth, if it is possible in this awful society of ours, mind you, it has been ongoing since, I think, about Shakespeare's time, we persuade parents not to use children as weapons. I mean, the rule was, but nobody listens to rules in this awful country, never hate your ex more than you love your child. No, nobody can do that anymore. Right, Leon, you're going to distract me from what I was going to say. Yes. So over the years, yeah, so I was talking about, right, I wasn't talking about anything, right, the O word. Over the years, I am not a cynic, so I do look. My radar is set to searching, actually, for what is there in our culture, British culture, or other cultures for that matter, which is inspiring, life-affirming, the real version, not the... Yeah, it's astonishing how many movies have become teen romance coming-of-age movies. Now, some of them are very good. I don't have to hide my name here. My brother was married, by the way, this isn't in Wikipedia, to Mia Sara. Nothing to do with me. I had nothing to do with these people. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off, coming-of-age. Quite a good movie, actually. But there's nothing in any of them. Yeah, they are not... Oh, here comes Adrian. They are not life-affirming. They are not anything useful whatsoever. And, in fact, we'll do part 2 in a minute. No, I won't. I'll carry on. Is he going back down? And he's gone.
little fella and his tractor. Inspirational culture. It's so interesting what isn't in a culture. And over the years, it's become my hobby to monitor what really is taken up by society as inspirational, how to live, to quote Montaigne, blah, blah, blah. And so little of our culture, so little of our public conversation that goes through culture includes children in Britain. It's astonishing. Now, you notice when your radar is set, so to speak, to looking for that, as mine became, for obvious reasons. Oh, runners. And I think this is one of the reasons why our society really is in a mess. Because the luckiest person in the world is the person that has an absolute. And also, when you're running a cause, now I've done 2 or 3 courses in the last 20 years. They're all the same. Being an environmentalist, the reason is for the next generation. But when you're running a cause and you have a child there in the back of your mind, it's so much easier. It really is. It doesn't make you a fanatic automatically, but in fact, that's the point. It's almost the reverse. It makes you be much more careful about your politicking, about your, gotta watch you don't get up in the wiring loom. Much more careful about what you're saying, what your, be it Brexit, environmentalism, carbon, etc., etc. You want to be saying, because you know you're saying it on behalf of your child. You want it to be not just right from the point of view of your group. You want it to be the most utilitarian, useful, and balanced position encompassing other viewpoints as well. And nobody can say this in Britain. Nobody can. There are other cultures where I mean, Italy, for example, where you see the kind of relationship or the need to frame things in terms of the morality of what's right for the other generation. Guides things a bit more. We are so cynical. But here's the point. So after over 10 or 15 years, I've always monitored, kept an eye on what's an inspirational movie or book. There are sort of other forms, I suppose, that you can call inspirational, but not really. And they've become awful. I've lived in little vans like this, off and on, for 25 years. Now, if anybody... There are 1 or 2 that know my circumstances at the moment. I couldn't give a shit. I've never been so happy. And if you've brought your life down to such a simplified level as I have, by necessity at the moment, you are so focused. Particularly when you could just go up into the hills for the weekend and just focus. I've sorted all my papers out, thinking about, right, is there any way I can get this thing done quickly? Because it's boring. Here's the thing. The film Nomadland is so appalling. It's so full of self-pity. There is no glint in anyone, no real glint in anyone's eyes. And that is culture. A sense of giving it to the man and confidence. Oops, somebody is going into my gloves. Oh well. Confidence that you will succeed. That's gone. Exactly the same in Daniel Blake. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about it. Right? He should have had Daniel Blake falling in love with his interrogator, his ESA investigating medical person. I had one of those 4 years ago, was it? Yeah, 4 years ago, and I did. As she will well know, we had a. It was actually the week that Daniel Blake came out. We were talking about it. It was hilarious. Yeah, it was a real spontaneous, one of those reasons to be alive. There aren't many of them, really. If you're going to do something that's got a message, which, okay, unless you wish the whole of humanity to be... and please note, I've included a little story about this thing called femininity. Good scientists don't believe in it. There's a spectrum, and there are all sorts of behaviours that can be called nurturing, aggressive, whatever, and both sexes have plenty of characteristics, all and up and down the spectrum. Come out. Come back out. If you're going to do something, aim for the top. I know what deserves an Oscar. And society needs something that celebrates anybody. Anybody who gets it. You fight. Even if just once in your life, you fight. No matter what. If somebody is, or people, or a system is even wrongly profiting off children. You see, that's a life-affirming, eyes bright, battle all the way thing. And we don't seem to be able to celebrate properly. That one strongest force in the universe, and it is, it is love for a child with whom one has developed that good, real attachment. So, there we go. Actually, that's not quite what I was going to say. I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, this. You see, that's all there is to it. But I'll write that in an essay. Another day.